IB Nation Sports Talk up and rolling on it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday. I'm having a hard time keeping track of what day it is this week.
Hump day. It's weird because obviously the Notre Dame schedule is tilted, and that's what you're used to kind of going off of. And
what's messed me up. And like the deeper the week is gone, the more is like, hold it, what day is this again?
Yeah, I get it.
Did the Freeman Zoom today, which is usually Thursday,
right.
But we had the Bavacqua press conference yesterday, which we don't typically have.
Correct.
And,
it's the first time he's really spoken with the media since he got the job, isn't it?
I think so. I was thinking that as well. I don't think he's really done a full-blown press conference Q&A type thing.
And it was pretty much, from what I heard, I didn't listen to the whole thing, but from what I heard, there were a lot of topics hit on in that press conference. So it didn't seem like there was anything that was all out of bounds or, they weren't allowed to talk about or whatever.
TD4ND says he's shy, not based on the way he talked yesterday.
I was going to say
he was not afraid to answer questions. Like he would go, man. He was just going.
No doubt about that.
Covered a lot of ground, like you said, but he went into detail on pretty much everything.
His opening statement was fairly long, actually.
It was.
Yeah.
And, honestly, I think we were kind of sitting there going, okay, what exactly are we going to cover here today? He just kind of opened it up to anything, which was good because obviously the contract extension was something people wanted to talk about. The playoff was something that people wanted to talk about. And there were plenty of other things in there as well. So kind of like this mailbag, right? Like we open it up to anything and everything. Just throw your questions in there and away we go.
Did you I'm going to throw one in there. Did you see the email that we just received that has a list of the coldest games ever at Notre Dame Stadium?
I did not.
And it's kind of
we literally, I guess it was 17 minutes ago.
Okay. Yes. It's kind of fascinating because this game has the opportunity, the possibility based on the forecast of being definitely in the top 5. If not a little higher, potentially. So, I find that to be fascinating.
I'm looking at the list right now. Coldest game ever, November 21st, 1964. 13 degrees.
Don't think it's going to get that low.
Notre Dame and Iowa. A lot of others in the 20s.
Yeah.
1982, Penn State, 30 degrees. 1974, Army, 30 degrees. Interesting.
The Snow Bowl was a balmy 28 degrees, Sean Stiers.
Wow. I've been there for, it looks like, 5 of these games? 2022 Boston College, when it snowed, 25 degrees. 2013 BYU, the Tommy Rees game, 26 degrees. 2008 Syracuse, 27 degrees. 2018 Florida State, when the guys came out with no shirts on.
Yep.
Baby oiled themselves up, 27 degrees. So, there you go. Interesting.
I thought that was interesting. I had to bring it up.
I didn't see that before we started. I'm glad that you did.
They're warning everybody that they're going to open the windows in the press box.
Oh, because of like
probably just air circulation or maybe just hearing what is going on. But they're telling you, bring a sweater.
Bundle up, huh?
Bring a sweater. Bring a light jacket. It will not make it uncomfortable or cold. It enhances your experience of the game to hear the crowd and the action. That's what it says. So
Alaska. This is not an Alaska shirt, Salty. This is actually California.
Yeah, that's Cali.
Yeah. Sorry.
I honestly don't know what the Alaskan flag looks like. Is that bad?
I don't either.
But I did know that was California. No, I'm looking it up. No, it's the Big Dipper with the North Star. That's it.
Alaska?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Just a bunch of stars on a blue background.
Well, you want to jump into some questions here?
Might as well at this point. How many of them are asking about the uniforms? That's what I want to know.
I did see 1 or 2, and we do have some. We did do a Zoom with Marcus Freeman today.
I'm getting accused of wearing black because of the potential black uniforms on Friday. If only I thought like that. That is not the way my mind operates.
I'll tell you what, just right off the bat, I am baffled by the possibility, like that it feels more and more like Black is legitimately on the table Friday night. Marcus Freeman was wearing a black hooded sweatshirt with basically, like like gold, like the color bear, but on black. So he starts up the Zoom wearing a black hoodie, and everybody's talking about these black jerseys.
At this point, I just hope Notre Dame is trolling all of us. That's where I'm at with this whole thing. I just,
it just doesn't feel like they would do that for like. God, I realize there are going to be a lot of eyeballs. So, like, which way are you looking at this?
Yeah.
Like you want potential recruits to see you wearing black jerseys out there in December, and I don't know.
I know we're going to talk about this in rapid fire, so I don't want to, get too far ahead of my skis on this one, but I'll just say I'm disappointed if that's the case. I really hope that they're just trolling us. Marcus Freeman's like, I'm throwing on a black hoodie just to mess with people. Like, I really hope that that's the case. I really hope that that's the case. One of the people that follow, Notre Dame tweeted out today, if they were going to go all black, why are they handing out gold rally towels?
What does one have to do with the other? I don't see the correlation there. Like,
well, just like when they do a green game, there's usually.
But you also, if you're waving the rally towels around, if they were black, you're going to have a harder time seeing them. You know what I mean? Like you can see this at night a heck of a lot better.
You already got yours, huh?
Yes, because I went to the press conference yesterday, Vince. So I got one.
Jeez, they better have them up in the press box.
Well, why would like if you actually take the time, show up at places.
Wow.
Once every decade or so, you get something for free.
Yeah. Okay, that last part was good. I still wear the sunglasses that we got.
I mentioned those yesterday. We got the free sunglasses at one time.
I still wear those, and I definitely swiped a couple of extra pair when we were there that day.
I'm sure you did.
Just because I knew I would lose them. So I'm down to one pair, and I still wear them. I almost did show up, though. What was it? It was Sunday. Well, the rally towels came out were Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
I almost went on Sunday. I was trying to do you a solid, but there was also lunch. So it was like a 50-50. Do Sean a solid, go get some lunch. But you didn't need me to, so I didn't go.
It's okay. I appreciate it.
I tried to help you out.
You made the offer.
I did.
From Xavier Kilowatts, which player who previously left Notre Dame with 24 eligibility would you most want back on the roster this playoff?
Oh,
you got Alt, Hart, Nana, Osafa-Mensah, Estime, Bertrand, Mayer, Foskey.
That is one of the easiest questions that will be asked tonight, and it's Joe Alt, and it's not close. That's who I would want. Look, this offensive line is playing well. But if you stick Joe Alt at left tackle, instead of Anthony Knapp, this offensive line just got so much better.
Mm-hmm.
So much better. So I don't think all of these guys had 24 eligibility, by the way. Michael Mayer was not eligible in 24. He left a few years ago.
Well, 2 years ago, right?
He wouldn't have been eligible in
what was his freshman year? That's what I'm sure. Was it 2019?
Let's find out.
It's harder to find out. Because like what confuses that is depending on when he was a freshman.
Okay, fair.
Like, yeah, he was a freshman in 2020. So that was COVID year, which means he, so technically he had 5 years of eligibility.
Okay. So he would have been able
still played this year.
You're right.
Yeah.
But would he have been Michael Mayer? I think there's no way Michael Mayer is going to be here his fifth year. But that's not what the question was. That's not what the question was. So I will respect the question, but it's still Joe Alt.
I got to go with Alt as well. Yeah. Like the stability that offensive line would have, and like whatever issue that you wouldn't have seen anywhere near the issues. Like this, the entire line would have just looked a lot differently all season long if you still had Alt over there anchoring things on the left side. So that's an easy one for me because like even Like as much, as much as we all liked Estime, just look how explosive the two guys that they've had this year have been. Like you haven't missed Estime, I think, like you would have, like you missed a guy like Alt.
Right.
To just be that guy over there.
Yep, I agreed.
Chris Baker, thank you for the super chat. Riley Leonard interviews remind him of Ted Lasso. Go Irish. Interesting comparison, not a question. Did you see any of his Players Tribune post that he made?
I started reading it after school today while I was waiting for my kids. And first of all, I didn't read it all because
how could you?
That was the longest.
Did you have a half an hour?
That's the thing. I was reading. I was like, okay, this is pretty good, And he starts talking about the man in the arena and all that kind of stuff. I was like, okay, I like where this is going. And then the kids walked in. I was like, well, how much do I have left? Do I want to sit here and read this before we leave? And I kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. I'm like,
a lot there.
I don't have time for this. So I did not read all of it, but the first part that I read about digging the hole and the man in the arena, like it was good.
Yeah.
But just like, wow, where else is this going to go?
Good stuff. Like I got to I got to the part where, and I was skimming a lot of it, but
that's fair.
He talks about the NIU loss and how he goes in and talks to Marcus Freeman, and Marcus kind of laughed and told him the next day, that you basically you're going to be better for this, in the long run, and he didn't believe him and he was doubting himself and stuff like that after, like touting his his faith to his teammates and all these different things. And he said, some of the, they're walking into practice or into the building and some of his teammates are like, look, man, you're being a hypocrite. You walk around talking about your faith and everything, and here you are doubting yourself. It was kind of a suck it up kind of moment. And he's like, you're right. And he got ticked off and went to practice and just worked harder.
He got ticked off
and stopped doubting himself. And I think that that's rubbed off on, pretty much everyone around him, the way things have worked out. So that was kind of one of my bigger takeaways from that whole thing. There's a lot there though.
Yeah. I think he's an easy guy to follow.
Yeah.
He's an easy guy to be a leader and to follow and things like that, because I do think he's a humble leader. I don't think he gets too big of a head. I don't think he's one of those kinds of guys. You know what I mean? I think he is a humble leader. And I think while I know some people can get turned off, by like the aw shucks, kind of personality and things like that. I find that to be humble. And I find that to be a very good quality, to be honest with you. But
I mean, I could see Riley Leonard, be curious, not judgmental, and barbecue sauce, throwing his dart and
barbecue sauce. Yeah, right. Exactly. I definitely could see that for sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong with that,
no.
I think we could all see. I think Ted Lasso is probably a pretty good analogy, honestly, for Riley Leonard. So who are your game wreckers for Notre Dame, offense and defense?
Well, offensively, Jeremiah Love for sure. Well, it's going to be the trio of Jeremiah Love, Jadarian Price, and Riley Leonard. I wrote about that in my prediction for the game. Like, IU has not seen a three-headed monster like that ever. And I think that is what is going to be the difference for Notre Dame's offense. So that's the trio on offense for me. Defensively, look, I'm expecting a big game from Howard Cross and Riley Mills, to be honest with you. Like, they came back for a reason. This is your chance to prove it. Like, we saw Riley Mills pick up his game when Howard went out. Well, Howard's back now. That doesn't mean you need to take a back seat to Howard. So I expect big things from those two. And to be honest with you, I expect a big game from Christian Gray. I think he's going to bounce back big time. I think he's going to make a big play in this game as well. So those would be the three off the top of my head, because I expect Xavier Watts to be the man. So
I mean, it's hard for me to like pick an individual, I think, on defense, because I agree with what you're saying. I think that getting Howard Cross back is going to be probably the key to this whole thing. It's going to allow them, I think, to dictate terms on the line of scrimmage on that side of the ball, and that's going to help the secondary as well. Like, is one guy in the secondary necessarily going to be a game wrecker? I don't know, but I do like that tandem of Cross and Mills together, because that's what has generated the bulk of the pressure on opposing quarterbacks for Notre Dame this season. And I just think that again, like I think Notre Dame is going to have a noticeable skill advantage on both sides of the ball when it comes to their secondary and when it comes to, the obvious three that you were talking about, Leonard, Price, and Love. Leonard, Price, and Love for the offense.
Pick your poison. You know what I mean? Who are you going to stop? Like that's kind of the way I look at it. And another thing that I said in my breakdown is like, I heard an IU fan talk about how all we got to do is stop Notre Dame's run, make Riley Leonard beat you through the air. Well, that's a pretty big ask to stop Notre Dame's run game. Like that's a big ask in my opinion. So, you're right. If you can stop Notre Dame's run game and you put the game on Riley Leonard's shoulders, the odds drop for Notre Dame, right? Not that I'm saying Riley Leonard can't beat you with his arm, because I think he can, but the odds drop, right? No one stopped their run game yet. What makes IU think they're going to be able to do it? Like, that's my big thing.
Well, I mean, they think they can do it because they've got the number one rush defense in the nation, and
I get that.
So if I'm sitting on that side, I think that you can hang your hat on that. But again, there's a big difference in teams who have tried to run the football, you know what I mean?
Right.
Who has really tried to run the football the way Notre Dame is going to be, has shown that they can run the football this year. And we had some good stuff on the whiteboard yesterday, Jesse was because of the way that IU has played their defense, as he pointed out, they play so much two deep zone. They don't really show that they have a whole lot of faith in their secondary. Now, does this match up with Notre Dame because of what Notre Dame has not shown in the passing game? Does that make them, change things? Does that make them commit another man to the box? Do they play more man-to-man as a result because they feel more confident in that? There's a little bit of a chess match there, but if they do stick to that too deep, there are going to be some spots where I think Riley Leonard and Notre Dame's receiving core, that whether it's factor Mitchell Evans into there, wherever, there are going to be plenty of spots, I think, where Riley Leonard can still make them pay. So it's very simplistic, I think, for anyone on IU saying, well, just shut down that run game and that'll do it.
Right.
They may limit it more than maybe other teams have, but I just like it's been all year, there are going to be some it's one thing for them, to be able to, to corral Jeremiah Love and or Jadarian Price 90% of the time, but it's what happens in that 10%.
Yep.
And you throw Riley Leonard in there as well.
Yeah.
It's what happens in that 10% that, where Notre Dame has really made teams pay this season. And I'm talking about explosive plays, of course.
Yeah. And that's the thing. If any one of those three gets into the open field,
right,
that's just that is a battle that IU doesn't want to face. That's what I'll say. So, is IU going to, a lot of what they do is they put a lot of pressure on the line of scrimmage defensively. And so you only really need to get through one wave of defenders, and then it's kind of off to the races at that point. And so IU is going to have to make sure that they don't let that happen, but the odds of that happening every single play that Notre Dame runs on the ground is that's an astronomical, figure that is not in favor of IU, right? I mean, it only takes one or two of those to completely change the outlook of a game. And so, I mean, again, we'll see what happens in this one. IU's a good team, obviously. I just think I agree with you. It's a little too simplistic to just say, oh, we just got to stop the run, make Riley Leonard beat us with his arm.
Right.
Got it. Got it.
Brandon wants to know, this is something I'm going to tell you I hadn't even considered. How do you anticipate the player walk unfolding with College Game Day on campus and right in the middle of it? After looking at the TV programming schedule, it looks like the two may overlap.
I don't even know what the path that they take is, to be honest with you, Brandon. So I don't really have a whole lot to say on this one. I really
because
don't.
They used to come from the, they were coming from the Goog for a long time, but didn't they change it back
They're
coming from Marcus Freeman, where they go to Mass and then come over.
Yeah, they're coming from the Basilica. And I think they come down the side there by the Irish Green there, or whatever they call it, in front of the fountain and all of that stuff. But I really have no idea. I have no idea. I mean, there's going to be room to walk.
Honestly, I wish I had thought about this before Freeman Zoom today. I might have tossed that up there, and
I would have looked like an idiot because I'm like, I don't know what path you guys take, but is that big stage in the way?
Right.
Because I honestly I
thought the stage was set back, like across the street from the stadium, basically in that grass, in line with the library.
Yes, it is. It is. I think maybe what Brandon is referring to is the overflow of crowd that could potentially be there. Are they going to be blocking the sidewalk? You know what I mean? I think
just make the crowd move, obviously.
That's what I would do. Honestly, that's what I honestly don't think that the stage is going to be in the way of the sidewalk.
I don't either.
So I think it'll be okay.
Yeah. They're gonna keep everything as close as they can to what it usually looks like.
And you know what? If it is messed up and people are going to blame the fact that they walked a different route on losing that game, then they shouldn't have won in the first place.
Here we go.
So
Matt says his favorite sports talk is with the Cramp Brothers. So
yes, that's us.
Seriously,
I will wear that mantle. Pride.
Oh man. Mr. Kilowatts says Curtis Rourke received 22 points in the Heisman voting. Is there a Notre Dame player you would have voted for before him? Yeah, I would have voted for either Riley Leonard or Jeremiah Love.
That's correct. Yes. Or Xavier Watts, for that matter, to be perfectly honest with you. So I would have put 3 players ahead of Curtis Rourke. So, but I would like to see, and I think that they tell you, who were those 22 people? And what did they vote him for? Third place? Did he get first place votes? Is there just people in Bloomington, they're just blind to the rest of the country? I don't know. So I would be curious to see who voted for Curtis Rourke.
Yeah, I mean, he's their best offensive player on a team that's in the playoff. So I understand people voting for him. But yeah, would I have voted him first in the Heisman?
He got 2 first place votes.
Wow.
I guarantee they work for the Bloomington Herald or whatever it is down there.
Or the Indianapolis, whatever.
Yeah.
Star. I don't know.
Star.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Indianapolis Star. That's not at all biased towards Indianapolis / Bloomington schools.
Yeah. There was a Bloomington or Indianapolis Star guy in the Zoom today.
Oh, was he?
That was interesting.
Those guys are, I'm sorry. Yes. I didn't even hear the question, so I'm not even going to comment on that. But the Indianapolis Star is one of the most biased newspapers I've ever read when it comes to their specific area.
Do you remember the controversy when Caitlin Clark got to Indianapolis and the guy, she was doing she made the star thing with her hands, to her family or something like that. And he told her, in the press conference, just do that with me and we'll get along fine or something like that. Yeah, it was.
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah, it was him.
That's weird.
It was him. So.
Okay. Yeah, I've just never been impressed.
Yeah.
So I'll just say that.
Salty wants to know, what do you expect the game day atmosphere to be in South Bend? The usual or much more electric?
Well, it's going to be weird because people are going to be at work. I mean, it's a Friday. That's the biggest difference for me. It's a Friday. It's not a Saturday where the vast majority of people are just off work and they can go tailgate and they can do whatever. Now, there's going to be a lot of people that take off work, obviously, and there's going to be a ton of people rush hour. Stay as far away from the stadium area as you can during rush hour. That makes no sense whatsoever to go anywhere near that. But
that will be different. Ooh, yeah. I hadn't even thought about that. People
can you imagine 5 to 6 o'clock, right, when people are really pouring into the stadium area and people normal people are just trying to get home, avoid the 23 corridor as much as possible. Some people are going to take off, John, but I hate to break it to you. There's a lot of people in South Bend don't give a crap about Notre Dame football. I mean, that's just a fact. they're going to want to just go home and they're going to be at work and it's just going to be now. I think the overall atmosphere will be very electric. I just think it'll be from like 4 o'clock on. I don't think it's going to be all day.
Yeah, I have I've noticed on the boards people saying there was like a thread that I saw where like somebody said it feels like there's so many more people, that he's interacted, who are going to be here for this game.
Yeah.
Than normal.
That's true.
So
no, that's true.
I think like the game itself, the atmosphere is just going to be through the roof. And that's, there'd been a lot of trepidation and stuff like that. Is this going to be considered a neutral site game, even though it's at Notre Dame Stadium because it's a playoff game and all this? And that was something that Pete Bavacqua went into detail with yesterday. Like Indiana's got its allotment of tickets, but this is a Notre Dame home game. Like, and it's being treated like a Notre Dame home game in terms of like the atmosphere and all that stuff. So you're going to, like you said, that you'll probably see, like some Indiana messaging on the video board, here and there, and some college football playoff stuff. But this is going to be a Notre Dame home game atmosphere. And like, think about like the best atmospheres that I can remember in recent memory have all been night games.
Yeah.
And I think it's just going to be through the roof Saturday night or Friday night. See, I did it. So
it's still very weird to me that there's going to be a game played on Friday night. Like
I know.
I still can't quite wrap my mind around that fact. Like I'll be at work and then basically be going straight from work to Notre Dame Stadium for a night game. Like it's just a weird conundrum, I guess is the best way to put it. So, but hey, it's going to be the actual game itself. And like I said, from about 5 o'clock on, it's going to be wild. It's going to be wild. I mean, Pete Bavacqua basically said, it's the part I did see, is that he anticipates it's going to be like Florida State, Notre Dame 93, where this was the game that everybody was watching. And he's right. It's the only game in town. Like literally, it's the only game in America that's going to be going on. And everybody's eyeballs are going to be on this game. So it's going to be huge.
ND Forever 72. True or false? Indiana's weak schedule makes Notre Dame's look like an SEC schedule. Has skewed all their impressive stats and will be exposed by Notre Dame Friday night.
It's somewhere in the middle. Like Notre Dame's, first of all, there's so many layers to this, right? So the SEC schedule is not all SEC schedules are equal. How about that? So are we talking about, a weaker SEC schedule? Are we talking about, an Alabama schedule or whatever team you want to pick that had a tougher schedule, right? Now, look, Indiana's schedule is weak, but it's not that weak. Like it's weak. Okay. I'm the first one to tell you that they feasted off of the bottom feeders in the Big Ten. There's no doubt about it. But there were also some layups in Notre Dame's schedule as well. So, I mean, I don't want to go too far on this.
Right.
Where it's one side and the other. You know what I mean? It's someplace in between.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Notre Dame's was still tougher, but Indiana's was weak.
It was.
But Notre Dame still can't get around the fact they did play for a group of 5 teams. There's no getting
spin
around
on that. It is what it is.
Yeah. Now, you can obviously talk about the fact that, as we've talked about, they were supposed to play Miami, the Hurricanes. They bailed, and that's why Army ended up on the schedule. But at the same time, the 2 service academies, like if there was ever a time to play both, not both, 2 service academies in the same season, this was it, because they were both undefeated and ranked
exactly
in October and November when Notre Dame played them. Because again, because we're comparing schedules and who's played what, and, rushing stats and all this different kind of stuff. Look, Notre Dame still ranked 51st in the nation against the run. Solid, but not spectacular, just when you look at that number. But when you combine those 2 service academy games and they ran for almost 500 combined yards, like that's going to skew your rushing numbers quite a bit. That's something that Indiana didn't have to do with their number 1 ranked rushing offense or defense. Right? Like they didn't even have to play 1 service academy, let alone the 2 best service academies at rushing the ball in the same season, So like it skews it. again, Indiana's schedule was not great. Notre Dame's was at least better, but I wouldn't quite go to the it makes it look like an SEC schedule by any means.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. It's like I don't want to make it sound like IU was playing a bunch of 1AA teams, even though they did have one. And I believe, and I don't know the details behind it, but didn't IU get out of playing against Louisville as well? So I mean, they kind of dodged some talent on that.
I don't know exactly when that happened, but I know they used to play, or Louisville was at least going to be on the schedule, but they replaced it with whether it was Group of Five or FCS, because that's the flip side of it as well. Like if you're going to talk about Notre Dame playing the Group of Five teams, well, Indiana played Charlotte, Western Illinois, and Florida International. Is like. And that's what you're talking about. One of those, I believe, was the Louisville was replaced with one of those.
So we have a IU fan in the chat, and they said that Louisville bailed on that. So
Louisville bailed. Okay,
fair enough.
Well,
fair enough. I didn't know. I honestly didn't.
That may be the case, but that's not what I had heard is when Cignetti was coming in, it's like a win is a win kind of thing, and
that's what I had heard too. I don't know all the details. That's what I had heard as well.
Again, they obviously didn't know this was going to turn into a college football playoff season.
Enough. Yeah, fair enough.
But
yeah,
they just looked at it. Again, why play Louisville when you can play one of these and you've got a better chance for a win? And obviously, it didn't hurt them. In terms of big picture, what everything turned into. So. What was the question? I saw you just answered. No, it's a home game.
They want to know if big boy pops are going to be served in the stadium.
Oh. Yeah, I don't know why people think that's going to change this season.
Right.
All of a sudden they're going to do that.
Yeah, just because the college football playoff is technically in charge of the game. Notre Dame is still in charge of the game, the day-to-day operations of the game, and they're not going to change any of that kind of stuff. So,
right.
Yeah.
Again, not too distant future. I think you're going to, I'm pretty confident that you're going to see that from some things that I've heard. Not too distant future.
Gotcha.
Not this game, but not too distant seasons.
Probably not where we sit though.
No. When we went to USC several years ago, they actually had a beer cart that they brought into the press box after the game.
After the game was over?
Yeah, for the media.
Make those post games lit.
Yeah, baby.
Woo!
Bernie wants to know when the Irish women in Hannah play their next game. That will be this Sunday, against Loyola, Maryland. So they'll play this Sunday, and then they'll have a week off, and they'll play on the 29th. So those will be the next two games that the Irish women play. Mark wants to know my impression of the Cowboys-Bengals game simulcast in Simpsons animation. Did you see any of that, Vince?
I did not. Yeah, I kind of wanted to check it out, but I missed it, to be perfectly honest with you. Because I did kind of dig the Toy Story one that they did. Was that last year? I thought it was inventive. You know what I mean? And I think this was probably something similar to that.
Yeah.
I saw some bits and pieces. It was really weird. Because they would be playing, and then all of a sudden, Homer Simpson was the quarterback.
Yeah, I did.
That was weird.
I did flip, because it was on ESPN Plus. So I pulled out the computer, as I'm, struggling to watch that game. And yeah, Homer Simpson would be the quarterback every once in a while, and I think Bart Simpson was the running back or something, and maybe Lisa was a receiver or DB, or it was odd. It was fine. And they actually had, Dan Orlovsky, and I can't remember who was with him. They had the the VR goggles or whatever on, and they were calling the game like that with the VR goggles.
Interesting.
On, apparently,
we should do that. We should call a game with VR goggles on.
That would be fun. But I mean, from what I saw, it looked fine. I just saw maybe 5 minutes tops.
Yeah, me too.
Because there's nobody in that age demographic in my house, who was
fair
into that. I didn't want to watch a Simpsons game. I wanted to watch the actual game. So
that's fair.
Salty said before Marshall this season, has there ever been a team that's opted out of a bowl game? I mean, there have been a lot of teams, maybe not because of, players entering the transfer portal like Marshall, but there have been several teams, Notre Dame included, who have declined invitations to bowl games.
I think, once they accepted the invitation and then backed out, like that felt a little wrong. I don't know that hardly any teams have probably done that because the transfer portal wasn't as prevalent in any time before now as it is now, right? So once you accept the invitation, you're in, like you're going to play it. Like this is happening. The problem was Marshall accepted it, and then a bunch of guys opted out and went into the transfer portal. And so that is where
the head coach, took a new job someplace, which was part of why so many players entered the portal.
Yeah, 100%. And so, I think college football needs to really look at the timing of the transfer portal and when it's going to be open and all of those different things. I'm not saying I have the right answer, to be perfectly honest with you, but at the same time, this isn't it. You know what I mean? Like having it now isn't the right answer, in my opinion. But I don't know that I have a better answer. So I think it needs to be looked at because of things just like this.
Mr. Kilowatts, you have a magic potion that guarantees for the whole playoff either A, no fumbles committed by Notre Dame, or B, 85+% field goal completion. Which do you take?
For the whole playoff, 85%. I'm taking the field goal percentage. That's what I'm taking. So 85 is not terrible. I'd like that number to be a little higher, maybe like 93, 94, but I'm taking 85. I think if you told me right now that you're guaranteeing me 85% field goal make, I'm going to take it because I'm nervous.
I think I'm going to take no fumbles because if you take care of the football, and especially the way they turn people over as well, I think that like that in itself helps negate like the potential field goal thing.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? Like I
do.
It decreases the odds that you're going to need, like a probably a game deciding field goal at the end. If you're taking care of the football and everything else is, what it typically is. So I'll take the no fumbles.
It's okay. I see where you're coming from. I'll get on board with that.
I mean, win the turnover margin, right? Like, that's probably the most cliche thing you can say about any game, right? Well, if we win the turnover margin, we're going to win the game. Well, that's
yep.
It's cliche because it's true.
You're right.
The time.
Exactly. And it almost wasn't true against USC, by the way, into the last couple of minutes of the game.
That's absolutely right. And look how it swung. Yeah.
Right. So there is that.
Is hosting a playoff game every year the new expectation for Notre Dame?
Of course it is. Why would it not be? I mean, I think that's the goal every year. Expectation and goal, like, are those synonyms at Notre Dame? You know what I mean? Like, I think it's always going to be the expectation. And I think it's always going to be the goal as well as it should be. Are they always going to hit it? No, but I think you should always expect or want to host a game. Absolutely.
Right. Like your starting goal, like that should be it.
Yeah.
Be good enough to host a playoff game at the end of the season. And then second to that would be in the playoff, regardless of
very close
second. Happens to be. Yeah.
Because I mean, I would say, to be honest with you, if I'm the head coach, and I'm writing down my goals for the year, the number one goal is to make the playoff. Like that's 1A. And then 1B is to host. You know what I mean? So I think make the playoff is number one. And then host is just under that because, of course, you'd rather host than be on the road. But yeah, hosting is what you want to do, no doubt.
Did you see this whole Tommy Rees Bears offensive coordinator? Salty wants to know, would he be a good choice as Bears offensive coordinator if Mike Vrabel is the head coach?
I mean,
Would not be my first choice.
You're a Bears fan. You got to put yourself in the shoes of a Bears fan, okay? I don't have the ire that a lot of people have for Tommy Rees. I really don't. I think he's a smart guy. I think his offensive philosophy is much more conducive to the NFL game than it is to the college game, to be perfectly honest with you. So with a very stable and strong head coach like Mike Vrabel is, it wouldn't bother me if Tommy Rees was the OC. It wouldn't bother me. Now, there's better candidates out there, but it wouldn't bother me.
It just feels like I want someone a little bit more innovative. Like if you know, you're starting from scratch, you just fired the head coach, you're not even a year removed from you know, your biggest investment, drafting Williams #1 overall. He's the priority. Like it feels like I want a more innovative offensive mind running that thing, and you know, essentially channeling with the #1 draft pick on what this is all going to look like. So I'm not, like you said, I'm not as down. You know, it's not like I'm down on Tommy Rees. Like I don't think he's got a good offensive mind. He just wouldn't be, you know, the one that I would want running that show.
Here's what I would say. You better have somebody, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the OC. It could be the quarterback's coach. You better have somebody that's really, really good with quarterbacks, because right now, Caleb Williams is a broken player, like physically, mentally, on the field, off the field. He's broken, and you're going to need to put him back together if you want him to be successful in Chicago. And so you better find somebody who has a history of wet nursing quarterbacks back to what, you know what I mean? I'm dead serious. And it's nothing to do with my dislike for Caleb Williams or where he went to school. It has to do with the fact that I've watched him play this year. He's absolutely broken, and you're going to have to build him back up. And it is not going to happen overnight.
Yeah.
So you better find somebody that knows how to work with quarterbacks and has some success doing that. Not, you know, Tommy Rees, to be honest with you. Like, I don't see that being a strength of his. So if you hire him, you better hire a quarterbacks coach that knows what the hell they're doing when it comes to, you know, tutoring a quarterback, especially from the mental side, not just the physical side. We know Caleb Williams has physical tools. From the mental side, he's absolutely broken right now.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like, I think Kevin O'Connell is probably your best bet. The Vikings had, you know, but it's not like the Vikings are, you know, like the Bears are going to be able to get him, like with what he has done with Sam Darnold this year,
which is amazing. Shocking, because look, I was down on Sam when he came in. Yeah, I was down on him when he came into the NFL, and he did nothing but back me up on that his entire, you know, earlier career. And all of a sudden, he is just balling out. And it is, I mean, hey, touche to you, my friend. Can you do that more than 1 year? We'll see. But he's doing it right now. So it's like two evils. It's like, okay, do I want Sam Darnold to be good so that he keeps the Michigan kid on the bench, even though I know he's hurt right now? But, like, you know what I mean? Like, do I want the USC starter to have success? Do I want the Michigan starter to have success? Like, you know what I mean? I just want the Vikings to lose, period. So there you go.
All right, so I'm going to piggyback a couple. Salty asks, have the assistant coaches received extensions that match Freeman's, and what will be the effect of Freeman's and staff's new contracts on recruiting and retention?
So the staff didn't get new contracts. Now, they may in the offseason, but it did not happen now. Now, part of his new deal was a bigger pool of money for the assistants. And so it's not like they're going to go out and hire, you know, additional assistants. You can't do that. So that money is going to go to the guys that are currently on the staff.
Right.
So,
like Dylan McCullough, you know, if he's
100%.
going to stay around and not go be a head coach, he's probably going to get a few more $100,000 a year, I would imagine.
Yep. Correct. So that money is going to be disseminated throughout the staff that's already there. So I don't think there was a mass exodus problem from a staff standpoint at Notre Dame anyway, but getting a financial raise is not going to hurt the situation any. How about that? So retention in that regard,
and it keeps guys obviously satisfied.
Yeah,
when they're successful and you are making more money and you are, essentially shown that you are still appreciated here, by making more money, whether it's McCullough or, Mike Mickens or whoever, the two coordinators, obviously, who like Golden's name obviously pops up all the time, when it comes to that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
Right. So I think from a roster standpoint of retention, they don't give a crap what the coaches are making. So I don't
right.
That doesn't matter. Like the only thing that would matter is like, okay, Marcus Freeman is going to be here for the next 6 years. So
that's the biggest thing with, and that's why a lot of these extensions get done when you start to get to, where you had a couple of years left, you tack on, at least a couple more years on an extension so that when they're out recruiting, these other coaches can't say, well, he's down to the last year on his contract or two, is he going to bounce, with all this, all that stuff that was floating around out there. So it takes care of it's more about the head coach than it is with the assistants and that kind of thing. Johnny wants to know how lucky I am to call Notre Dame women's basketball on the radio and how much I love it. Well, I'll just, like as someone who was out of that game for a while,
it's true,
and like to be able to go there and, have that kind of elite, talent, play, everything else. I mean, it is very easy for me to appreciate. So, and like in terms of like the loving of the play-by-play and the whole thing, there's nothing like a big game, and like having the chance to do 3 already has been pretty awesome this year. And I know that there's going to be a lot more, coming up in the very near future. But like I got into, like talking into a microphone for a living because I wanted to do play-by-play. So
look, man, you are in a unique position because obviously you came to Notre Dame, and one of the things that you came to Notre Dame for was to call women's basketball. And the way that part of the job, which is kind of pulled out from under you like one of those magician's tablecloths, you know what I mean? Like, because it was kind of abrupt. Like the way I remember it, it was abrupt, and all of a sudden you're not the play-by-play guy anymore. And so you went through a period of time where you weren't that, and then you got a chance to do it again. And I just feel like you have an even deeper appreciation for the whole situation.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Well said. Probably better well said than.
Well, it's like I kind of watched it from the outside. You know what I mean? Like I kind of watched it all happen, and I just the way things just kind of went, it was like, man, you're just not doing what you love. You know what I mean? And now to have that opportunity again, I think is freaking awesome.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And, again, it's like, it's one thing, like just to get to call games, but again, like to get to call
good point,
elite players, elite, those kind of games, like that's where the fun is, like, especially when you've been doing it for a while, like that's where the fun is, having the chance to be in that atmosphere and call, great, close, exciting games and all that kind of stuff. Yes, it was Bob Nagel. It was
kind of weird. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, essentially for the last 30 years or so, Bob and I have alternated different periods of calling the games. I believe he was doing it in the 90s. And then, as the radio contract flipped someplace else, the stations that I went to work for in the fall of 2000, I did it for 8 years. And then a few years later, because the radio station that I worked for completely, as you said, I had the legs pulled out from underneath me. They completely bungled the radio contract negotiations. They literally had a signed contract and then tore it up. And that, that's when things, went to a couple of different places. And that's when Bob did it again for several years, including the last national championship that they did. And then I guess it's been 5 years ago now, it flipped again. And that's where the door opened up, back up for me to kind of get back in there.
Yep. So. It's just back and forth, back and forth.
Yep.
I think you're safe for a little while.
If Love is not 100% Friday, what do you think Notre Dame will do on offense?
Nothing will change. It will just be Jadarian Price will get those carries like that, if that's the case. Now, I do not believe that is the case. I think Love is going to be just fine, and Jadarian's going to be just fine, and we're going to see what we've seen all season. But if anything, they would just kind of flip roles. But that's it. That's the only difference that I see.
Yeah. I don't think the game plan is going to change much at all. And I mean, the fact that like you've obviously seen Jadarian Price and depending on kind of, how the flow of the game goes, sure, that'll dictate who's taking snaps and, what situations and all that stuff as well. So, I mean, their game plan really doesn't change a whole lot, based on who's in there. That, they can both run between the tackles. They can both bounce outside. They can obviously both explode and get downfield.
Yep.
So. Salty wants to know when we get our contract extensions. Contract? There's a contract?
I mean, I never signed anything, so that also means I could be fired at any second. So, I'm very happy. If you're listening, I'm very happy right now. Very happy.
We're both ecstatic.
Ecstatic.
In one word, that no SEC player received a single Heisman vote is blank.
Indicative of the depth of talent across the country. There you go. I had to have been with you, right? We talked about the fact that I think it was one of your rapid fire questions that, 8 of the 10 top Heisman Trophy vote getters were formerly FCS or lower group of 5 guys. And so I just think, again, the one positive about the portal is that it allows guys to move up and it allows the talent and the cream of the crop to rise to the top. And I think this is just another example of that.
I would agree with that.
I'll tell you, say in one word. Whoops. Yeah. I just saw the blank and I went crazy.
It's funny that, because I hadn't thought about this until this question popped up, but that's right. Like you didn't. And I think that it says a lot about how the talent is spread out around the country right now. ND Forever. I did like your Feinbaum comp. I didn't realize that was like, everyone's got, like different handles and stuff like that. But yes, I like that.
The portal certainly makes things interesting in recruiting. I can tell you that. It makes things way more gray.
Salty asking about Branch, the USC wide receiver, entering the transfer portal along with his brother Zion and I believe Zachariah both entered yesterday. Should Notre Dame pursue?
Are they both USC kids currently?
Yes.
Okay. Look, should they kick the tires on it? Sure. I mean, they're talented kids. I mean, I don't know enough about their background and their academics and, all of those different things. I don't know enough to say, yes, that is a Notre Dame target. But I think they should definitely kick the tires on it and see if that is somebody that would fit into the locker room and all of that. I really don't have an issue with that. My only issue is I think they're slot guys. And I'm okay with Notre Dame's slot receivers. That just adds more of a logjam to me. So that would be my only reservation on that. But I mean, sure, you kick the tires on it and see what's going on there.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no problem with them checking them out. But, like you said, for whatever reason, Notre Dame has built kind of a glut of slot guys in the last few years. There are some other body types I think that can be addressed and added to this team. Like especially like Salty, Mr. Great One fan, like he shouldn't be calling for more slot guys to be coming to Notre Dame, right?
Just saying.
Safe travels to you, Joe. He said he's leaving tomorrow morning, 6 a.m.
Nice.
Getting into town in the afternoon, hanging out. Safe travels to everybody coming in this weekend. Looking forward to it.
It's going to be great.
Yes. Vince, are you ready for rapid fire?
Let's do it, baby. A little Wednesday version.
Okay. So, a lot of speculation, of course, this week on what color jerseys Notre Dame's going to wear against Indiana this Friday night in the college football playoff. And Irish head coach Marcus Freeman addressed that question on his media Zoom call earlier today.
Obviously, let our captains decide what we wear. I am informed that we have new jerseys for the games. I was informed that weeks ago if we made the playoffs, Under Armour was going to give us new jerseys, but I haven't seen them. Really just focusing on this game and preparing the right way for this task at hand.
Okay, so I should also mention that Marcus Freeman, as he answered that, as everyone has been speculating about black jerseys this week, he was wearing a black hooded Notre Dame sweatshirt. Obviously not a very common look. So, Vince, what do you think all this means?
I really hope it doesn't mean that they're changing the jerseys. That's where I'm at. Now, I hope this is just the ultimate troll job ever. Like that's what I hope it means. And I'm going to hold on to that hope until I see something official from Notre Dame. I'm hoping this is a troll job and Notre Dame comes out in their normal, they're just their normal uniforms. That's what I'm hoping for.
And people, of course, mentioning that Vince is wearing black.
This is where I work.
In football.
This is where I work.
I agree, John. I do think black is a bad idea. I'm just not down for this. I would much rather see green than black. Like if they're going to come out in something that is not blue, I would go with green before I would go with black. But like, what does your gut tell you? Like, I'm feeling like I was pretty definite yesterday that this was all just, like social media,
Me too.
And, internet rumors and stuff like that. And then literally I open up Zoom and there's Marcus Freeman wearing a black hooded sweatshirt. And I think the second question is about this. And he's like, well, the captain's vote, we've got these uniforms. I haven't seen them. It's like, what? What is going on right now?
Look, I like the fact that Notre Dame is loosening the reins a little bit on just the gold pants, either a white top or a blue top. Like, I do like that. Like, they had the white bottoms with the blue tops when they were playing against Georgia Tech, and they had the all whites on the road. Like, I like the fact that they're, thinking outside the box a little bit, right? But it's with team colors, man. Black is not a team color.
Right.
I'll just say it. Black is not a Notre Dame team color.
Could it be midnight blue with gold numbers?
Why does it have to be? Why not Carolina blue?
Well, midnight blue, I don't know if you remember, a guy who used to work with us at the radio station back in the day. We used to have arguments about what color the Bears uniforms, and their colors are midnight blue.
Okay.
But he used to argue, well, but it's almost black. But it's not black. It's midnight blue. There's still a difference. So it's a darker shade of blue, I guess, is what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know, man.
I mean, listen.
I just don't feel like it feels like, like this is the first college,
right?
Like on-campus college football playoff game ever. You're playing at Notre Dame Stadium. This is Notre Dame.
Yes.
The whole thing. It just doesn't feel like something they would do.
I completely agree. They're stressing the history of this thing and all of that. Then why are they changing their jerseys? I don't understand it.
But WJS says if they come out to all black, how many times will you hear back in black in the stadium? Probably the same amount. I heard Ozzy Crazy Train when they played that at night. It took them years to stop playing Crazy Train at night. Yeah, I think you hear it. I'd set the over-under on 6.5, I think, because it's going to be like wild and crazy and, like big plays and stuff like that. I think you're going to hear it quite a bit if they actually do.
It'll be quite the contrast because I'm pretty sure IU is going to be in all white. So,
and now, have you seen that for sure?
Well, I mean, that's what their away jerseys have been all year. So that's all
okay.
I'm going. That's all I'm going off of.
Gotcha. So, I mean, they could switch it up though too.
They could.
Okay, so we saw Charles Jagusah practicing with the team Monday morning after the tackle, of course, missed all of this season due to the injury that he suffered back in training camp. So What's his availability for this week, and what'll it be for the spring as well?
Yeah, for spring he'll be 100%. He's still returning to play protocol. He won't be available to play for us this game, but in the offensive line role. But he is getting closer and closer to being able to practice for the entirety of a practice full go. But he hasn't practiced full go yet.
So hasn't been able to practice full go just yet. We did have some people asking, I think yesterday, about Jagusah. Could he suit up? Could he play? I mean, obviously, Vince, he is nowhere close to being able to ready to play,
right.
Being ready to play right now.
Yeah, and I wouldn't anticipate that he's going to play. I mean, look, he's a very talented kid. There's no two ways about it. This is just some extra practice, in my opinion, for the spring.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to mess with the continuity of the offensive line right now, not in the playoff. Like, that's not a very smart move from a coaching standpoint. And so I would anticipate that would not happen. And so, yeah, I'm definitely out on him playing, even if he's ready to go. I don't think that's a great idea. I don't.
It's almost like an extended spring, right. Like just kind of getting his feet back underneath him a little bit, taking advantage of some, what would you call it? Non-leverage types, not ultimately, ultra competitive by any means, but just getting reps, and the fact that he's able to get out there and do some stuff after missing the whole season. Like you hear about, we always hear about how important it is for these guys to get bowl practice, like especially the young guys. The way they've done it the last couple of years is, the first few practices that they've had for bowl prep, they've let younger guys, kind of have more reps and stuff like that to rest some of the older guys and to get some of the younger guys looks and those kind of things. And this is just, again, it's like he didn't play all year. He's just coming back. It's just kind of licking his chops a little bit, kind of getting him ready for the spring primer. So the Irish traditionally practice inside Notre Dame Stadium before most home games. Freeman was asked about that leading up to this week's game.
Usually during home weeks, home games, we try to get over to the stadium Thursdays of game week, but versus Virginia, we weren't able to do that because of the weather. That wasn't going to be the same on that Thursday. It was on Saturday, and there were some other logistical things that today is our typical Thursday practice that we decided to not go over to the stadium. Our guys know where to go, what to do. They know the ins and outs of every part of Notre Dame Stadium. So they'll be ready to go and very familiar with the environment.
So, big deal, little deal, no deal. No practice at Notre Dame Stadium this week.
No deal. They've practiced there plenty. I don't think that's a huge deal. I mean, they,
like you said, they're at the stadium all the time.
Yeah, all the time. I mean, and they don't. It's first of all, it's an empty stadium. It's not like you're practicing in front of 80,000 people at night. So I don't think that even really benefits you at this point. They're out in the elements. That's what you got to care about, right? It hasn't been cold enough at the beginning of this week, in my opinion. So they're going to be out in the elements. They're going to be doing things like that. This is a no deal for me.
Completely no deal. Completely no deal. Again, like your practice field is still 100 yards, right? Regardless of if it's actually inside the stadium or not. It's not like you need to get acclimated to Notre Dame Stadium at this point. You've played full games in it all season long, even though it's been around a month or so, a little bit more than a month since you've done it. Completely no deal. DCAF wants to know if IU will have a walkthrough tomorrow. I would think, that's typically customary that the visiting team gets a walkthrough the day before, if they come in and that kind of stuff, but I can't say for sure, but I would think that they would. Carlos, not happy about the fact that this is a home game, but IU gets its own full entrance.
It's a video, Carlos. Take it down, man. It's not that big of a deal. It's a video. If Notre Dame loses the game because there's an IU video playing, they didn't deserve to win the game in the first place. It's a video. Everything else is going to be Notre Dame. Like, it's a video, man.
I'm still really curious to see what this is going to look like, because I know, IU, like the technical ticket allotment is only like 3,500 or something like that. But that obviously does not control, like secondary ticket market and all that kind of stuff. I am going to be really curious to see what that looks like, but we'll talk about that here in a second, actually. Double down. There's no way Charles Jagusah is playing Friday night.
No. First of all, number one, he's not ready.
He just said, right. He just said, Freeman said in that clip that he's not even practicing, like full practice right now. So he's not.
That's a non-starter. I mean, maybe you get to the national championship game and maybe he's full go. I still don't think he's the guy that you put in. I mean, he hasn't been practicing all season.
Right. Indy Forever wants to know any word on whether Kingston Viliamu Asa would be back if they advance the Sugar Bowl. I would highly doubt it. At practice the other day, he was not in uniform. He had a knee brace on, and he basically just had, I think it was shorts, and like some sweats on kind of thing. So he was not doing any kind of practice stuff. So I would think, like best
they've
case,
been very
vague,
very vague, which
that's
is not
something that sign. I think it was asked on Sunday. I think he was asked about King, or if it wasn't asked, he just said he's out still, basically. But based on what we saw, I don't think that is in the near future. I would think that best case you might be talking about semifinal or championship game. Yeah, even getting down that far. Irish English says he's interested in hearing "Turn Down for What" about 6 times. So
he'll be in great shape. You'll if that's what you're wanting. There's a chance. So you're saying there's a chance,
right? So here's an exchange between Irish defensive coordinator Al Golden and a reporter from their media session this week. Question: with Howard Cross returning, can he be full go after being out so long, or do you have to work him in? Golden: when you say work in, question: he's a heavy rep guy normally. Can he be a heavy rep guy? Golden: yeah, I'm not anticipating working him in on Friday. I don't need him standing next to me. And that, Vince, is blank.
Freaking great. I mean, a full go Howard Cross III. Let's roll, baby. Like, that's the best news you could. Of all the news that has come out, the fact that he's going to be full go with no restrictions, that's the best news possible.
That is absolutely right. They needed Howard Cross back. They're getting Howard Cross back, and I loved it. It's like, no, this is not, we're working him back in.
Right.
Like, he's available to go. He's going to be out there. As much as he's going to be out there. He's not going to be standing next to me on the sideline, like hanging out and talking in my ear all night.
Exactly.
So Al Golden's got him out there on the field. I love it. By the way, do you know the last time Notre Dame played a home game that was not broadcast on NBC? Do you know what the game was?
I do know the answer to this because I have seen it floating around.
Okay.
Not because I'm a great historian on anything sports related, as you are well aware. But I believe it was 1991, and I believe it was against IU.
You're close. November 17th, 1990, Al Golden was playing for Penn State at Notre Dame Stadium.
Okay, yes. See, you win. Okay. Yes.
Came up.
Did it come up?
Session. Yep.
That's funny.
And he knew the answer to it. He knew that he was in the last game.
What position did he play?
I believe he was a tight end.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Interesting.
I believe. Fill in the blank. It's going to be a battle of rally towels for Friday night's playoff game now, Vince. Notre Dame, of course, is putting them on the seats. These right here that Vince doesn't have. They're going to put them on the seats in the stadium, and it's blank that Indiana is also passing out their own towels now to fans both in Bloomington and here in town before the game on Friday.
Good for them. They're trying to do the best they can to get any kind of advantage that they can. I have no problem with IU getting into the rally towel business. I just hate rally towels. I'm just not a fan in general. So
you don't like the.
No, I don't. I would rather see pom-poms. bigger fan of the pom-poms than the rally towels.
Really?
Yeah.
I would rather see the rally towel than the pom-pom myself.
Maybe it just reminds me of the Steelers too much. I don't know.
Maybe. I can see that. Terrible towel days. Yeah.
I don't know.
This looks like a terrible towel.
It does. When you were spinning it, that's all I could think of. So now, if the vast majority of the crowd is spinning that thing, that means there's less IU fans. And so I'd obviously be on board with that. But there's going to be some contrast because those rally towels for IU are red. So
they're actually white.
Well, that was dumb.
And that's like to me, the fact that Indiana fans will literally be waving white flags during the game. That's the first.
That's hilarious.
First thing I thought of when I saw the picture of these things. Yeah, they're going to be a white towel. And I was like, why would you do white? Why wouldn't you do red? And again, maybe it's because it's at night and it'll stand out, or maybe it's because Indiana will be wearing white.
Maybe it's because they're just waving the white towel, baby.
Yeah,
the white
waving
flag.
The white towel. They'll be waving the white towels out there. But you will see some contrast. So we're going to be able to see, I think. We're going to differentiate.
It'll be even more obvious because, remember, it's a cold weather game, right? And so people are going to be wearing coats. And rare do you get the green coat or the red coat. You know what I mean? They do exist, obviously. You could layer up and there's things that you can do. But a lot of the people are just going to be wearing coats. So that is going to be the differentiator, is those stupid towels. So we're going to be able to see.
So that's how we're going to be able to see it.
This is the last time you and I are going to be on a show before Friday night.
It's true.
What is your final prediction for the percentage of IU fans at the game?
Man,
because I feel like I'm trending more towards less IU fans with what I've been hearing and things like that.
I'm going to say 30% IU fans.
Okay. I think that's a lower number than what you were saying before.
Yeah.
So you're trending in that direction too. I like that.
Price of the tickets has come down,
which
means that, maybe they're not, as eager to get in there as I originally thought. Yeah. And just like hearing so many, Notre Dame fans.
Yeah.
Father David we're seeing 15 and 20%.
Wow.
Corey is with me at 30%.
I think I want to be in the 20 to 25% crowd. I feel like that's where I want to sit. It's going to be interesting though, but yes, I have more faith that Notre Dame is selling to Notre Dame like Notre Dame people are selling to Notre Dame people more than I thought that was going to be the case.
Irish English says, wait, before or after halftime?
Ooh, well played. It'll be about 7% after halftime. So
yeah.
The parents will stick around.
Yeah, and with the student tickets being $25, like I was wondering, because again, like this whole before we really heard all the details of just how home centric this whole thing is going to be, I was wondering how big the student section was going to be. But if you're getting them for $25 and they're keeping the dorms open an extra couple days to let the students stay, I would think it's going to be a pretty full student section. I would think so.
Yeah,
I think that's good news too.
What's up, Thad? 27.5% is a very specific number, but I brought that up not only because it's a specific number, but because Thad is a good friend of mine. I haven't talked to him in a really long time. So what's up, Thad? Good to see you, man. He moved out to the East Coast. His allegiance got split. He's a huge Cubs fan, but he lives in DC. So I see a lot of Nats pictures with him and a Nats hat and all that kind of stuff. So I'm hoping at the core,
hanging Nats,
still rooting for the North Siders.
This is the one that I was looking for. It was right beneath Thaddeus's. Stymie, over under a 3 a.m. wrap up for the post-game show. So let's see. We're starting at 8, which means they're going to be done close to midnight by the time. So, well, it might not be quite that long because it's ABC, ESPN as opposed to NBC.
I think it will be.
So you might get 11. I'll say 11:45. End of game. But that's still, there's no way you're getting done before 3 a.m.
No chance. So here's the thing, and I don't know how much Brian has actually talked about this, but we're we're still kind of on the fence with how we're going to do the post-game show. If it's a close game, I don't think I'm leaving until the game is over.
Okay.
And so that will push the post-game show back a little bit. If it is how I think it should be, I'll still leave between the third and fourth quarter, and then we'll start it up right after the game is over. So it's going to be kind of literally a game time decision on how we operate the post-game show. But we will have something after the game. It's just I'm not exactly sure of the start time. Yeah, so we'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes. The best part is I know this is going to shock you, but I did not plan very well for this particular weekend. And I have wrestling supervision at 9 a.m. on Saturday.
Oh my gosh, Vince.
Yep.
What are you doing?
I didn't even think about it. Didn't even cross my mind.
So do they just write you down or something?
So so basically,
unless you tell them, hey, I really can't.
Yeah. So it's like a lottery essentially. So or a draft, I should say. So at the beginning of every sports season, so fall, winter, spring, we get into the people who do supervision. We get into a room. We've got the whole list, and we go through it. And it's okay. Well, who wants this one? Who wants this one? I was like, yeah, I'll take a Saturday morning wrestling tournament. No big deal. Well, didn't think there was going to be a post game show till 3 a.m. plus.
Man,
so it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough.
Carlos says I need to hop on the post game shows. No, I don't. I have the out though, because
you're working.
I have to write stuff.
Yes.
That's why I'm not on the post game shows. Vince and Brian and Trevor and is Ryan still doing it?
He does, but I don't think he's going to because he's going to be Trevor.
Oh, that's right.
Ryan,
he's going to be at the
game. So that's the other part of it. So Brian and I are in the press box. Trevor and Ryan are in the stands. I think the only one that's going to be at home is Sean, the other Sean Davis.
I was going to say I'll be at the game.
Yes, and so I'm not going to rush home to do the show by myself. You know what I mean? So we're going to have to kind of figure all that out and when everybody can get home and what that looks like. So this is a once in a this is the first time for this, so we're kind of playing it by ear. I'm not looking forward, by the way. Once Notre Dame beats IU, I'm confident that's going to happen.
Okay.
8:45 kickoff for the Sugar Bowl. Sean, 8:45. Notre Dame goes from the first game ever of the weekend to the last game of that round.
Of the second weekend. Yeah.
Man, that's going to be rough.
I'm just glad I'll be home, actually, because that'll be New Year's Day.
That's true.
And we don't have another basketball trip until we'll leave on the 4th, play on the 5th at North Carolina.
Well,
so
that tells me you're coming with us.
Is Brian willing to pay all those airfares?
Hey, whatever. I'll fit in the luggage. Whether I'm there or not.
I've been to New Orleans once. I've never been to the Superdome or whatever it is.
I've never been there
or whatever it is.
What is it called these days? I honestly don't even know.
I think isn't it Mercedes-Benz?
Yeah, that sounds right.
Aren't there two Mercedes?
There are two Mercedes-Benz because the other one's in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
I've never been to New Orleans ever in my life, so being there on New Year's, I'm sure will be a very interesting scenario.
Oh, it's the Caesars Dome.
That's right.
That's new. Right. That's a new name.
Yes. And
formerly Mercedes-Benz Superdome.
And it's not like Little Caesars. It's Caesars as in Caesars. Sports book.
Yeah. Dolly, thank you for the super chat and appreciate you saying that. Says, love you guys. Always a pleasure to see you and Jesse too. Well, we do appreciate
that. Thank you very much, Dolly.
By the way, Vince, I have one holiday themed question that I wanted to ask you tonight, since I don't, we'll be here next week before Christmas, but
of course
I expect a lot of, game specific. And by the way, I just thought about this. One Christmas is a week from today.
Oh no, say it. I know exactly where you're going with this.
You know what Monday is.
I do. Say it.
Festivus, baby.
Woo!
The airing of grievances will come in rapid fire on Monday's show, since obviously, they're going to be, there's going to be plenty of football to talk about on Monday's regular IB Nation Sports Talk, but we will air grievances in rapid fire.
Yes.
So we didn't get a Festivus show last year.
No, because it was on Sunday.
Yes.
Now we're in line for multiple, because now we're just going to roll through the week. So we're in line for multiple Festivus shows moving forward. And I'm excited about it.
I got a lot of problems with you people. Nice, Carlos. Nice. Are you baby Carlos, by the way, from The Hangover? I just watched you the other night.
We always celebrate Festivus on this show. And
That's right.
Previous iterations of shows.
From way back, there have always been Festivus shows.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. Do you have the audio from that one? You did a bit with former head coaches at Notre Dame and all of that.
Wow.
Do you still have that audio? Because I think you should play it.
I don't know if I do. I'll have to dig. I don't think I do. It was.
I don't remember exactly all the pieces, but I remember it was controversial.
It was after Tyrone Willingham was fired.
That's right.
And I did what was that? It was OnStar, and Tyrone Willingham was locked out of his office, and he couldn't figure out why, and he was calling OnStar.
Is that what it was?
Okay. Yes. Jerry Faust was trying to help him, I think.
Yeah. That was good.
Made some people mad.
Yes, you did. So worth it.
But here's my question.
Okay.
My Christmas question for you. So I was listening to a pod recently, and these guys were talking. One of the guys said he and his wife were considering doing 2 Christmas trees because they couldn't agree with what they wanted from a tree. So my question to you is, Vince, would you ever consider having 2 Christmas trees in your house?
So there's 2 answers to this question. In my house, the one that I pay for, no. But growing up, we had multiple Christmas trees.
Really?
We did.
Full-size Christmas trees?
Oh, yes. One was on the main level and one was in the basement. The reason being, the one on the main level was the Hallmark.
Was one of them a steel pole or an aluminum pole?
No. One was the Hallmarky ornaments and the nice stuff. And then the one in the basement was all the handmade stuff.
Interesting.
That we had created over the years. And so that one got to go to the basement. But they both had, places of honor or whatever. So multiple Christmas trees in my old house, 1 in this house. I will say, though, we do have to pick and choose what we put on the tree because there's only so much room.
Yeah.
And we have 5 children,
right,
who have all created things over the years, and then we've accumulated, you know how it goes, right?
Sure.
We could easily fill 3 or 4 Christmas trees without any problem.
Yeah. See, the thing is, in this whole, conversation that I was listening to, it was the husband, kind of wanted one thing in a tree. The wife wanted another thing in a tree. And I just don't feel to me, the whole tree thing is my wife. She puts it up. Typically I try to help take it down, but more times, I just don't feel passionately enough about, these are the things that I need on the tree, that I want a whole tree that I'm going to be responsible for.
Correct.
There's just no way. So
are you fake or real though?
We used to kind of alternate. We had a fake, and every couple years we would go back and do the real. The real just got to be too messy. And with the pine needles and the water and the whole thing. So we've just gone pretty much fake for the last several years.
We've been fake my entire marriage. So because when we became a family, I guess is the best way to put it. My dad gave us one of the 2 Christmas trees that we had in the house, gave us one of them. And so we just used that one.
So you've had that same tree?
We have since upgraded.
Okay. I was going to say, that's been 20 years.
Because that was each individual branch, and you have to fluff it, and then you put the lights on and everything. We have since upgraded to the 3 stack, you know what I mean? That's pre-lit, and you just do the 3 pieces, and boom, you're done. Now, I will say, when it's all said and done, that tree was magnificent. Like if you took the time and you did each individual branch and the whole, like it was beautiful, but it just took forever, man.
Yeah.
It just took so long.
Yeah. That just reminded me that, like, speaking of fake trees, my dad had this fake tree that, had been around. I don't know how long he even had the thing. And he just, like he would take the decorations down, but he would basically just like that thing. It probably stayed in his living room for a good 10 years, collecting dust. And
oh, that's great.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Just never took it down. Just, like kind of rearrange the decorations.
Dude,
and stuff like that.
I get it. I 100% get it, man. I do. Yep.
All right. Well, I guess I will see you next when we're out there together.
That's right. Friday. Yeah. I don't know when I'm getting out there. Let's pray for a quiet day at the other job, and hopefully I'll be able to get out there.
Sounds good.
We'll see. We'll see. I can't wait, man. I'm so excited.
I know.
I'm wearing all my IB stuff to school on Friday. I'm ready to
say now I got to figure out what I'm going to wear in the press box, since apparently I've got to bundle up.
Well, we're going to be at the tailgate too, so it's like I don't know what to do. Like, you got to layer up. You're going to be outside, but then you're going to get up inside. And it's going to be like, what do I do with all these layers? I don't know. First world problems, obviously.
There's a lot to it. All right, Joe's bringing the whiskey. I'm not much of a whiskey guy myself, but someone's got to keep it warm. Steak sandwiches. Do you know for sure? What? Joe was asking about the Knights of Columbus steak sandwiches. I mean, I would have to think that they're going to be doing those out there.
Right? They would have to. I mean,
home game.
Those are a staple.
Why wouldn't they?
Those are a staple. They have to have those. When I was a student, I'd get one of those every week.
It's been so long since I've had one of those.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Somebody said across from the South Dining Hall is where they do that. Does that sound right? Do you remember where they do it?
I just remember it was on my walk over from Holy Cross. And you could just smell it in the air. That sounds right, but it's just been so long.
It's been a long time since I've gotten over that far on a game day. Like, especially since we, because we park at Ignition Park.
Yeah.
So it's like
complete opposite direction.
Just walking, like to the stadium. It's nowhere close to that. So they do sound good though. They do sound good.
They do.
All right.
I don't know what they're serving at the IB tailgate, but here's hoping.
Get the Knights of Columbus to just bring that grill over, do some steak sandwiches there. That'd be the way to go.
That is the way to go.
All right, we're going to wrap it up. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate the questions. Don't forget, tomorrow is We In, We Out Thursday. We'll have that on tomorrow's show, and plenty more as well. Just, we've got two sleeps to go.
Sounds like we're getting ready for Christmas. Kind of is, though. This is adult Christmas.
It is.
Friday night is adult Christmas, everybody. Yep. I'm here to say it. So let's go.
All right, hit the like button before you leave, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. IB Nation Sports Talk.